Guys. I'm so excited to share this one with you all. This is a new addition to the Struggle With Me series. I thought adding artist studies would be fun in addition to general picture studies I posted before. So, for this one, I'm studying an artist that I followed for like half a decade now or so, and she's so talented. I'll show her channel here, and her channel name is Emilyena. I think I'm saying that right. She hasn't posted in a while because I believe she hasn't been well health-wise for a long time, so I hope she's okay. But I still watch her speed paints pretty often. I fell in love with the way she paints because she uses a textured brush and utilizes hatching and cross-hatching to shade, render, and add texture just overall. It makes it look traditional without it being traditional, if that makes sense. Like, if I didn't know that she digitally painted this, I would have probably assumed that she paints it or something like that traditionally. That's how cool it looks. I never really sat down and tried to understand what she was doing when I watched her speed paints, but I decided to give it a good old try. I wouldn't even say I was in the trenches for this one, because I was having fun the entire illustration. Wow, what the heck? But for the sake of the channel theme, let's say it's a nice sunny day in the trench this time. Struggle With Me is a variation of Draw With Me, so grab your sketchbooks, your tablet, your snacks, your water, your coffee, whatever, and let's get right into this. Here's a screenshot of the video/painting I was referencing for this study. I've always been drawn to this illustration in general because of the colors and the texture, like the pink and then the blues and just all of that. She's really good at doing that in general, but for this one, I don't know, I just like it a lot more. So I wanted to try to emulate it. I started off with a sketch, of course, this time using my OC Midnight, which you guys have seen a few times already. The initial sketch was a study of a portrait of a pretty lady from Pinterest, so I could get the head shape and the proportions looking right. I didn't want to do it from imagination because I'm just bad at doing that. Surprisingly, the sketch was finished super fast with little sketchy lines, which is kind of out of the normal for me. This typically happens when I'm having a good draw day, as I'm sure you other notice are aware of the idea. For those who are not, a quote-unquote good draw day is just our way of saying things come naturally without much effort, and the drawing ends up looking great without much struggle. In essence, to me anyway, it's like a roundabout way of giving ourselves a compliment, pretty much. Emilyena sketches pretty loose most of the time, but this painting I'm studying seemed to have a clean sketch, and the lines were also clean and thin, so I kept that in mind as I was going. Sometimes Emilyena will make tattoos on her characters, which I thought would be fun. But then, as I was doing it, it frazzled my brain too much, so I scrapped the initial designs and then gave up on it entirely. I just decided to focus on the painting, which was my whole goal in the first place. So good for me for actually avoiding getting in my feelings about something that wasn't going right. 1 point for me. So the sketching process ends pretty quickly. I moved on to the lines, which are nice and crispy, and start the flats, because that's how she started. It seems she always starts with flats. I know she uses CSP, Clip Studio Paint, so I know she actually uses the Real G pen to color in flats, which is funny, because I use it for lines, pretty much only. For painting, she uses 2 brushes, some variation of a smooth brush. I used the round brush because I think the brush she was using was one she made or was custom in some way, and a dry brush. The dry brush was a struggle because my version of Clip Studio Paint doesn't have exactly what she has, so either it's custom or I just don't have it. So it took me a while to search for one that was at least similar in stroke texture. I ended up finding oil paint flat brush, which had enough texture and was dry enough without blurring the ends like the charcoal or the crayon brushes would. She starts with using the round brush, adding general color that would be undertones for the skin. She doesn't typically draw dark skin, so I had to research what colors to use for the undertones of brown skin in particular, mostly desaturated reds, yellows, some purples, etc. There is a method to application for the undertones: purple in the corner of the eyes, slash sides of the nose, reds on the crest of the cheeks, etc. But I didn't want to get too caught up in the technicalities, so I just put the colors where I liked the way that they looked the best. Once the undertones were done, she just gets right into rendering. Her method of painting calls for a singular layer, which I tried to do at first but got intimidated. I have drawn on one layer multiple times, so that part wasn't really what scared me in particular. But since I'm doing a study and I'm studying what she's doing, I was making a lot of mistakes and I didn't want my lines to be moved around. So I made a backup layer to draw on, and then I'll give the single layer painting a try another day. Another thing she also did was tint the color of the lines with a clipping mask. I already do this with my own art, so the idea of doing this came pretty easy to me. I like how, for her style, it really pushes the painting to a higher level when the lines are in a similar color family with the stuff I painted around it. As I rendered, if an area looked too dark or too light, it was typically fixable with just a tweak of the line color underneath, which is super neat and satisfying. Seriously. The reference model had very large, pretty lips, and my OC has large lips, but not this large. I liked how the lips looked so much, I didn't change them. And now I think my OC, whose design hasn't changed in over 15 years, I literally drew her in middle school and have just been drawing her the same ever since. But I think now she's gonna have really big, plump, pretty lips, because it looks so good on her. Trying to render this way was very interesting and fun, despite the initial learning curve. I would pause and unpause, rewind, and fast forward her speed paint to understand the order at which she paints with the soft and dry brush to get the textured look to my stroke. From initial trial and error, I realized that she's not exactly painting with only hatching, which is what I was under the impression of in the beginning. It's a mixture of putting paint down with a soft brush, hatching in shape and form, then smudging it out somehow, and painting over it again with the dry brush to leave the illusion that the whole thing was painted with hatching. Now, I'm sure that's probably not what she actually does, but breaking it down this way helped me figure out how to get that texture on the painting that I love so much. At first, it was just me bouncing between the round brush, putting down strategically placed blob of color for the skin, shadow, light, midtones, whatever the case may be, and then going over it with some hatching with a slightly less saturated color using the dry brush. This got me pretty far for a while as I rendered the face, but then I got the bright idea to add the smudge tool in as well, which really helped me. I don't think she uses the smudge tool like that, if at all, or when I used it, it helped me spread the strokes around in the middle of whatever color that I plopped on in any given blob, so that I could focus on leaving those hatching marks on top when I was satisfied with the form underneath. Something I noticed as I was drawing and rendering alongside Emilyena is that using the hatching method adds a certain structure, more angular rather than soft and round. And I kind of knew this before, just like when I learned how to do that in high school, or whenever I learned how to do that. It does kind of like make things look a little more rigid, but like you could still make a circle look kind of round if you just apply the lines in a particular way. But the angular structure is indicative of her entire style, and also something that I like a lot about it. Her characters all have triangular or square elements to their forms, and as I tried to emulate how she paints, naturally Midnight's face became more structured and angular. For the lips, it was a bit of a challenge because they're just straight up ovals, but I tried to think about it like structured on the ends, less hatching in the middle, and it seemed to work out pretty well. Oh boy, and don't even get me started about the hair. When I watched how she does it, it's essentially the way she paints on the skin, but the lines are longer, like the strokes are longer. She used the techniques of coloring the lines with another color, either more or less saturated than the surrounding colors again, which came easily to me. Something that I noticed about the lines she paints with the clipping mask is if it's a place like the face or fingers, for example, the color is applied with a round brush, so they fade into the other colors on the lines, which is like, ugh, so good, so good. Anyway, as I was rendering the hair, I kept in mind the form of the hair and worked in big shapes. Emilyena said herself that she doesn't like drawing in hair, and you can tell because she does the same thing in each illustration, drawing in big shapes and not really worrying about the details, which can take some time to look right despite how simple it may appear. For the hair and the back, she'll use a tint of dark or light color, depending on the color temperature needed for any given illustration, and will apply it as a gradient. I didn't do this for the hair until late in the process because I was so caught up in rendering that I forgot all about it. Something I noticed that was a glaring mistake that got more and more obvious over time was the fact that the overall illustration was too warm, just like the one that I posted before on the Draw With Me video. So for the shadows, I used a dark desaturated blue, and to liven up the skin a little, I used desaturated purples and reds, which really helped. Yes, reds aren't cool, they're warm, but you catch my drift. I still feel like I could have pushed the color temperature and variation more, but I needed to finish sometime. It's a study, so it doesn't need to be finished, is what I kept saying to myself. I didn't focus too much on anything below the neck because of this idea, so that's why it looks unfinished down there. Adding in the final touches, I was getting ahead of myself and stopped studying Emilena's work. I wanted her skin to be shiny a little bit, so I played with the blending modes and how much shine to add to things like her lips and up near her eyes and cheeks. I also used the same blending mode to brighten up the hair a bit using a cool purple. I think adding in these finishing touches really put a cherry on top of the render and complemented her angular face shape. I know that Emilyena uses a lot of overlay for like adding in rosiness, not necessarily rosiness. I don't know how to describe it, but it's tones underneath the skin, and so I used overlay to add a little splash of color on her cheek and like right where her eye would meet her temple, and I thought that really brightened up that part of her face without it being overbearing. So that's kind of what I was doing as well. A sidebar, I really like how unrealistically long my character's neck is. There's a time and place for long necks, and I feel like the composition of the character has to be just right for it to not appear totally off-putting and scary. And I think she looks more elegant than scary here, which also makes me happy. I like staring at it. It's nice. You can see me playing with the light on the lips here, and it makes me squeal just looking at it because I tried something new. I put 2 colors on top of each other, one that's darker and then one that's slightly lighter and a little less saturated, so that there's kind of like a two-tone effect. And I think it looks so cool. I've never actually done that before. I know it kind of like happens naturally if you put, like, let's say a color dodge layer on top of a multiplied layer or something like that. That kind of line happens naturally, but I wanted to try to make it I wanted to try to emulate it instead of it just happening naturally, and I thought that it looked cool. I don't even think you can see it from far away, but that it made me happy doing that. That was fun. Overall, my trench buddies, this artist study was a success. Yay! I learned a ton, and I feel like the way she paints isn't so far from how I do when I paint. It's just adding the hatching really takes it to the next level. Since I finished the drawing, I've been so happy and inspired. I drew a really cute thumbnail with yet another style of a chibi that I think is adorable, as well as this really cute thanks for watching picture, which I hope you all find cute too. I've been feeling experimental lately, and I've been just trying new ways to draw, do lines, paint, styles in which I can draw, which is why you see in like the thumbnails the little chibi person changes a lot. And I want to share all of that with you. I want to share just me being excited about drawing again with you guys, because I feel like it's a special thing, and I'm typically more stressed out than happy and content with my skills as an artist. So I just wanted to thank you all for those who stuck with me until the end of this video. Struggle with Me's are longer form content, which I prefer. So hopefully we all had a good drawing session together. Like the video if you liked it, and this is Shy Seedling signing off. See ya.